Hey guys, Shrimp here. So I have a pretty cool gun to do a video on. So this is an LCT AK. My brother actually got this in a mystery box, and I'll tell you what, he scored on this one. He doesn't know that he got it yet. He hasn't opened it. He opened it to get a few things out of the box that he had purchased. I took a look at it, and I was like, ooh, I got to do a video on this. Now, I've actually never gotten my hands on an LCT. I worked on an E&L. I installed an HPA engine into it back about 2 or 3 years ago. It was quite a while ago. And I was pretty impressed with the externals. The internals were a little bit more basic on that gun. There's a few things that gun has on the internals that this doesn't. Really only one thing. Quick change spring system. From what I can find, this is just not quick change. Whereas the E&L that I had was quick change, so I don't think the LCTs are. That's one complaint about these AKs. But let's get into this gun. So obviously it seems like a brand new gun. Let's start from the front, go to the back. So I took the orange tip off. It included this. This is a steel flash hider, just a bird cage. That fits on there perfectly. The barrel on here is metal. The front sight block, the gas tube here is all steel. The rail system on the front here is just on the bottom, and I think it's aluminum. Normally rails are just made in aluminum. They don't make those in steel. Why would you? It's, just adding weight. So it's an aluminum rail on the bottom. I will say in the box it came with it looked like a claw mount. Maybe go over here, go over the top cover. But it looks like it's just a rail that actually threads into here. These 4 screws. You can put a rail right here. So if you want like a red dot all the way up here, it looks like it comes with the rail that fits up here. I wouldn't imagine it fits anywhere else because it didn't fit back here, and there's already a mount here for a standard claw mount. So I think it goes right up here, but most people don't put a red dot up that far because it's pretty stupid, to be honest. If you want a red dot on here, an optic, get a claw mount and do it back here. So the sight block is all steel, incredibly good shape and quality. The body here I think is stamped steel as well. These are the most realistic AKs you can get. The LCTs and the E&Ls are incredible. The Simas, you can get metal body Simas, but they're just kind of a pot metal. They're kind of just cheaper, and the paint is an airsoft gun, These are more realistic. The LCTs is what I'm referring to, and the E&Ls are just more realistic, higher quality. They cost more. I think my brother spent $120 on the mystery box, and I wouldn't imagine that this gun costs any less than $350, maybe even $400. So my brother scored on this one for sure. So moving back, you got the charging handle, which moves back pretty far. It stops there. The selector switch clicks into place so well. Safe semi-full auto. The magazine catches where an AK is, standard AK trigger, standard AK top cover, and a pretty ergonomic pistol grip. It's very smooth. It's kind of like Magpul-esque feeling, I guess. It just feels good. I love this grip a lot. And as you can see on the back, it's got a crane stock tube that is aluminum, and then a plastic stock. It's got quick detach sling mounts right there on the receiver. The top cover is steel, and that is actually where the battery is housed. So unfortunately, they didn't rewire it, which is a huge disappointment because it sucks trying to get batteries to fit up on this top cover. So you take it off. It's a Tamiya connector, and you can see everything here. It looks like it's got a plastic hop-up unit, basic AK type hop-up. Seems decent. The gearbox shell is very, very strong on this gun. The internals are pretty solid. It's got like a steel cylinder, aluminum cylinder head with double O-rings. I think it's got an O-ring nozzle. It's got some pretty good steel gears, maybe like close to SHS, as good as SHS. They're not quite as thick, but they are steel. They're like comparable to like G&Gs. They're black heat-treated gears. Those are comparable to what's in here. They're not super thick and like reinforced, but they're strong in themselves. So that's what's in here. A neomagnet motor. It doesn't actually feel like a neomagnet motor. Nothing's sticking to it. I figured if it was a neomagnet, I would get that to stick. So maybe it's not a neomagnet motor. That's kind of disappointing, the gun at this price. But if you have any experience with the LCT AKs, let me know if you know if this is a neomagnet motor. I know the E&Ls don't come with neomagnet motors, so it's not like the LCT is doing something totally wrong. But for a gun over $300, you should be getting a really good neomagnet motor, in my opinion. Like, you buy Crytacs, those come with decent neomagnet motors. That's pretty much it on the internals. I think it's probably a 120 spring. I've seen them shooting over like 420, around 420, so we'll see what this shoots. I have no idea. I have not put a single BB through it. As far as dry fire, it sounded good. As far as the battery that we're using, it is an 11.1 1000 milliamp that I had laying around that seems to still work. I will say the battery that you're going to want to get for this, you can get some batteries up here. It'll fit all the way through the sight block. I think it'll stop right there. But I would recommend getting the round 11.1s. Don't use 7.4s in these. Please don't. They're not going to get very good trigger response. The internals on these are really good. Also, I forgot to mention metal rack piston. So you're going to get some good internals on here. I think they're probably shooting around 20 rounds a second. So you're going to get decent performance with the 11.1. That's what I would use with this gun. You can get Matrix sells, like, I think it's maybe a 1600 or 1800 stick 11.1 that'll fit right down in here. Or you can get the Titan Power batteries, get one of those, and it'll fit right down in here as well. Trigger response is pretty good. Full auto. Yeah, sounds about like 20 rounds a second. It does come with a mid cap, one of these waffle styles. I have G&G .25s in here, so we'll see how those perform. And then I have a high cap with, I think they're Echo 1.23 gram VB, so a little bit lighter. So right off the bat, it actually seems to be less battery space than the Simas, because I could fit in the Simas, it's probably a realism factor. In the Simas, I can fit a stick 11.1 up into here, up inside of this tube. Whereas with this, you can't unless it's the round ones. So already, the Simas seem to have more battery space, but it's probably a realism thing. They tried to be 1-to-1 spec on this, and it's not shutting. Okay, so I did adjust the hop up, so it's a little bit over hopped with .25s. Let's put it through the chrono with 2.5s. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be 360 with 2.5s, which is a little over 400. Actually, yeah, 360 with 2.5s. Oh my gosh. 395, 391, 395, 392, 397, 392, 399, 399, 398, 398, 399, 396, 397. My gosh. Almost 400 feet per second with .25s. Wow. This is 1.83 joules with .25s. This thing is like 450. It did say on the tag 440 to 450 as far as like e-bikes testing. I didn't believe it. Man, is this thing consistent though? I don't know if you can see those BBs out there. Wow. Super consistent. Trigger response is decent. I feel like I might be able to outrun the gun. Almost. But it's keeping up. Okay, magazine is out. I forgot to do a rate of fire test, so let's go ahead and run that through the chrono here. .2 rounds a second. 402 FPS. These are with the 2 3s, so a little bit lighter. That's why the FPS went up by like 10. Yeah, it sure is hitting hard. So I didn't really talk about the sound of the gun. It seems to be shimmed pretty good. I'm pretty happy overall with the audible sound on it. It doesn't sound grindy or whiny. It actually sounds really good. Trigger response is pretty solid here. Now, I know some of you guys are probably going to wonder, well, that mid-cap that comes with it, are they any good? So I'm going to go ahead and load that back up with .25s, and I'm going to see if it feeds semi, which it did earlier. I didn't get to test it on full auto. So if it feeds on full auto with 2.5s, that's probably what I'd recommend running. Picking up a bunch of those mags, especially those that want to do milsim. This would make a great one of those milsim guns for, you know, the scenarios where there's like Russian forces and all that sort of stuff. A militia, whatever. I'm not into that whole thing, but there's a lot of milsims like Desert Fox, Milsim West, American Milsim. A lot of those are starting to do civilians and do like Russian forces. That's become really popular. So this would be a great gun to get for those Russian enthusiasts, I guess. It's more of a modernized AK. Some people like that. But you can pick up a bunch of those mid-caps and throw some 2.5s in here and be shooting 200 feet at a milsim and be great. So let me go ahead and go load that mag up and see. Alrighty, so I got it loaded up with G&G .25s, really good brand BBs. It holds about 150 rounds, so let's see how it feeds. Pop-up doesn't need turned up. I think it probably broke in a little bit. Yeah, it needs to go up even more. Oh yeah, there we go. So it's semi as good as we saw earlier. That is always awesome when you can toss a mid-cap into a stock gun, 20 rounds a second, give or take, and just hold down the trigger in full auto, and it'll dump that mid-cap with 2.5s. I can tell my battery's starting to die. It's only a 1000 milliamp. That's why I recommend getting one of the Titan Powers. You could probably get a 2000 milliamp Titan Power in here, no problem, or one of the like 1600 Matrix ones. This one's a pretty low power, 11.1. Again, it had chronoed at almost 20 rounds a second. So I'd imagine if you have a bigger 11.1 in here, more milliamp, a little bit more C rating, you could get 21, 22 out of it. Alright, we're out. So, I think that's plenty shot through this gun. If anyone wants this, I'm sure it's going to be for sale. This thing shoots absolutely incredible. This is, I gotta say, the best AK I have ever shot out of the box. I will say the FPS is kind of a little disappointing because it's a little high. I was hoping for 360 with 2.5s, which is about exactly 400. That's what I was hoping for out of the box. Maybe 370 with 2.5s, a little hot, you know, like 410. But instead we're seeing like 450 with 2s. So you're not going to be allowed to use this at a lot of fields as it sits. Some fields would say, yeah, sure, you can only use semi-auto. Or they'd say, some fields would allow full auto at this. Some will. But they'll be like, oh, 50-foot MED. I know there's fields that allow full auto for 450 FPS guns, but you have an MED. It's kind of some of those like smaller fields that don't have quite as many people, from what I've seen, that'll allow full auto at 450, but they just give you an MED. I don't know if what milsims would allow this. I don't know if Desert Fox allows this. I think that Milsim West would allow it. I think Milsim West is 450 for AEGs, or they do HPA and joules, but I think they allow this higher FPS for their games, at least the ones that are not quite close quarters, like the outdoor places where there's just this huge location, and maybe there's a couple big buildings, but it's more long-range fighting. I don't know if they'd allow this or not. Actually, if anybody's gone to any Milsim West or any higher class Milsims, like American Milsim, even the Desert Fox games, go ahead and chime in and let me know what they allow for a rifleman or whatever, semi-automatic. I know some of those Milsims actually allow full auto as well, but let me know what those rules are, because I can't remember off the top of my head. I really haven't looked around for that sort of stuff because I'm not interested in going to those Milsims, at least not at this point in my life. But some of those fields again will allow it. You'll just have to kind of look around and possibly downgrade the spring, or don't recommend this, but not chrono your gun. Don't recommend that. Anyways, so if you have any questions or anything, let me know. I am really impressed with this. Very impressed. My brother really scored on this gun. So I'm going to throw it back in the box, and then he'll be making his unboxing video. I think he's going to be doing that today. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in seeing his unboxing. But this thing is awesome. It really is, and it shoots so great. So I'll see you guys on the next video.